So make sure you do the weekly sessions. If you want to know whether some of the students were asking, oh, hey, how do I know whether I'm on track? It's like every week, the lectures and the lab session, the work session, so to speak, is supposed to get you to a certain level, right? If you're not at that level, which means that, if we're in design, if we're teaching you colors last week, by this week you should have like colors implemented, at least decided for your apps, and all the stuff that you've taught before colors. If you don't have that, that means you're not on track, pretty much, right? So you need to make sure that you're doing the weekly stuff. The weekly stuff is pretty much how you know whether you're on track or not on track, right? We do see that some people, that there's less and less people submitting homework. And honestly, we wouldn't know whether you're on track or not if you don't submit your work, right? The easiest way for us to know is like, hey, you're doing your work, all right? Sounds like you're on track. So if you're doing your work, but on project, you're not getting to the standards that we need, then, it's a different conversation, right? It's a time management issue. But if you are not even doing your homework every week, then you're definitely not on track, like major not on track, right? Yep. So I want to spend this time, usually the last 15 minutes of the day, to answer some questions that you have. I posted this earlier in the evening, that there's a link to a Google form, that it will be anonymous for you to ask any questions that's not necessarily design or development related. So it could be things like teamwork, leadership, communication, planning, time management, career/university related, or life, right? How do I know if the girl that I like likes me? You can ask us that and we'll tell you. That's what we did last semester in Richmond. So, pretty much anything you want to ask about that's not related to dev or design, we'll try to answer that either through this 15-minute session if we can, or find a good time to, if it takes a bit more time to answer, we'll find a good time to address that at some point within the semester, or it could be through a video. So it depends on the type of question. Like, I don't know how and when I'll answer the questions until I see the questions, pretty much, right? So the link is on S04-all, it's pinned there. I think one of the mentors can then reiterate that into the main channel again for those who want it. It's going to be anonymous, so if it's good for people who feel like, hey, I don't feel like asking this question publicly or privately because I don't want to be known as the person who asked that dumb question. Honestly, there's no such thing as a dumb question in this context. And it's anonymous, so you can ask us anything and we'll be able to do that. So this week, I want to answer one question, which is related to what I talked about last week around. And the question is that I do not understand last week's reflection, asking about if you were part of the team. Can you elaborate a bit more on that? And the second part of that question is it wrong to take credit and say you contributed, right? So it's a very interesting question in that regard. So I'll answer that this week. And that is no, right? Again, like this session is not part of the slides, okay? If you want to take down notes, take down notes. There's no slides for you unless you want to, you can rewatch the stream, the recording of the stream. So no, it's not wrong to take credit if you have already contributed to the team, which means that, hey, this is what I did for the team, and I should feel proud, right? And you should, right? There's nothing wrong with that. What I was talking about is that there's a phenomenon in people. Actually, it's not just you at your age in high school. I see that when I was consulting companies, like people who are 40, 50 years old about to retire, they have the same exact problem as you. And that is that there is a nasty habit of people only taking the good stuff and then discarding the bad stuff, which means that if the team goes well, right, it's all me. I fix it. I am the hero, right, of Azeroth or whatever you think you are, right? But when a team don't go well, suddenly it's somebody else's fault, right? Oh, it's Roland's fault, it's this fault, somebody, you blame the world for it, right? And that to me, if you want to know why you do that, is two things. Is that first, you don't know how to solve problems properly. You don't know how to address problems. You only in your life, you only learn how to sort of like, hey, it's not my fault. That's the default, right? Remember, you rise up to the level of training. That's a default. And second is a bit of an ego issue, right? So you got to learn how to drop that ego, which is what I was talking about as well, on how that relates to part of your team, right? So number one, drop that ego, right? Number two, work as part of your team. Now, you are devs, you are designers, correct. But you are first and foremost, above all of that, a team. So how do you function as a team? You got to start thinking about that, right? Do you just go like, hey, the box required, it's a 50-pound box, right? Or 50 kilograms. If you're using the standard SI unit, 50 kilograms of box. And we need 4 people to carry that. And 2 of them just go like, you know what? I already carry my share. I'm just going to fold my hand, stand there and watch you struggle, right? Now then you ask yourself, in that metaphor, does that sound like a team to me? It doesn't sound like a team, right? So what I usually do when people say that, hey, if things are successful, it's all due to me. If things are not successful, it's because of so many other reasons. What we usually do is that I will switch that individual, the team who is succeeding, one member, and that member from a team who is failing, who have that attitude, I'll switch them across. And funny enough, 99% of the time, all right, their new team, the successful team will suddenly become the worst. And the worst team will suddenly become successful. And that's all because of that attitude, right? That 1% will be because of something else. And that's where we know there's a real problem. So why do we allow you to switch teams is because of that. You want to know that it's a way for us to see, right? If you're moving from team to team, if you have that ego, you're going to see that you're going to always be not doing well. Your team is not going to do well. Then you got to figure out how to deal with that, right? So remember, you are first and foremost a team member before you're a dev or designer, and that you need to drop that ego. Okay, I'll give you a real life example. Is that throughout my life, I picked up. I didn't start in UX. I was a producer. I was working in the Olympics, and then I'm doing some feature films and animations and things like that. Now, throughout my career, even though I'm a designer, I picked up front-end engineering, I picked up product management, I picked up project management. And that has nothing, all of this has nothing to do with, oh, I want to be an engineer, oh, I want to be product manager, because to me, first of all, they're fun for me, right? New knowledge. But second of all, it's because sometime, somewhere, at some point, the team requires somebody to pick up that load because, hey, we are not doing so well in project management, somebody got to do it. Oh, we're not doing so well in product management, somebody got to do it. And you got to figure it out, right? Even though you're not the expert, you're not the designer, you're not the developer, you got to figure it out, right? So why do we call Team 9 out specifically and commend them for doing that? It's because they did that extremely well. And if you want to know what happened was that, there's insufficient developers and a little bit too many designers, and development was struggling. And what we did was that here's the information of all the development lessons from week 1 to 4. Here's the information of all the design lessons from week 1 to 4. You guys got to carry that. You got to cross-learn. You got to pick it up. And guess what? They did that fantastically well, right? And that's what I mean by functioning as a team is your first, number one and foremost priority. Then you can think about, okay, I'm a designer, I'm a dev. All right. So that's the question I'm answering this week. Feel free to put in more questions. we're going to answer them throughout the whole curriculum.